Hello, folks. Here we are this weekend. Tomorrow is biggest game of the season for Liverpool, Champions League final. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to have a quick chat with one of the main men from the LFC community, Drifty himself, and just to chat about the game and see what our thoughts and how we're feeling, if the nerves have kicked in yet. Drifty, thanks for coming on, mate.
Pleasure, man. What's going on?
I know. It's it's a strange one, mate. Do you know what? See, because the way that the league is finished, I feel like there's a lot of negativity in the last couple of days. Negative is probably the wrong word, but a lot of people are a lot of downbeat. Is that the best phrase?
Yeah, disgruntledness.
That's there you go. That's why you're the man with the words. That's a great one. But I would say it's so funny though, Drift, because see if Man City won 5-0. Like, I don't even think would be down. Like, do you agree with that? Do you think? Differently?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously, anyone who's been paying attention to our channel knows that I've swiftly changed my feelings about Pep and the whole situation, because I just had a reflection on it, and I just thought, do you know what? I'm sick of these guys. Like, I'm genuinely sick of them, and people are going to throw salt at us all they want, bro, and let them do it. I get it. It is the nature of the beast, and it's the nature of what we do. And I don't even have a problem with any Man City fans, so to speak, who would defend their club. Everybody does that, innit? Like, it is what it is. I just want to know why is saltiness to just bring up facts that clearly are affecting people. And you know what? I tell you what, when Man United catch up again, if Arsenal ever catch up again, if Tottenham catch up again, they'll all turn around and go, nah, hang on a minute, man. Look how hard we tried to get here, and we still can't beat this team who can just spend £1 billion whenever they feel like it. And then maybe then they'll realise, and then maybe then they'll start kicking off a fuss. But what I hated about that day, bro, was they got like a moment they didn't deserve. And again, I don't mean that in a salty way. It's just facts. Like, they were top of the league for the entire season, pretty much. I think Liverpool were only top of the league for something like 2 weeks, if you calculate the days across the whole season. They were pretty much top for the entirety of the season, other than when Chelsea were at top for a brief stint at the beginning as well. So, really and truthfully, there's no story to tell, if you get what I mean. From their side, it was they nearly let it go, but in the end, they didn't. Like, that's the story. But because that last day was dramatic, now they get to act like it's this unbelievable moment and their season is this and rare. No, it's not. You were top for the whole time. Everybody thought the league was over in January. It's not a moment. It's just, but because obviously they did the comeback, now they, it's this whole, it's like you said, we weren't embarrassing against Wolves, bro, but we should have had the Wolves game 2 or 3-0 done by about maybe the hour mark, and then had them sweating that they weren't winning their game. We really dropped the ball in that final game against Wolves. We did. We went 1-0 down after 2 minutes.
That was a bit crazy. What I would say, the Drift, I would add the fact is, I think it's easy to say put pressure on it, but see, because of City's situation, I think because all they had to do was win in their head, is I do think that helps you. Because see if it's like maybe they knew that quite clear going into it. And the one thing I used to think that as well when it came to the pressure, and maybe you're right, mate, but I always think, see, when Sadio Mane against Wolves, ironically, a couple of years ago when they were against Brighton, and Glenn Murray scored, then Sadio Mane scored, and then Aguero scores 2 minutes later, and they just go and absolutely steamroll Brighton. So I get what you're saying. There's arguments for and against that. I do get it, mate, but it's just like, I don't know. To me, I was in shock when they went 2-0 up, but I was not convinced Villa were going to. The City weren't going to win, just because.
Me too.
Just, I said this the other day to Grizz. Actually, I said, now, I said I'll probably change my statement. I said I think the way City play especially against teams who aren't us, teams who they dominate, I think might be the most effective way, like, to score ever in the Premier League, on a par probably the Man United team with Van Nistelrooy and stuff like that, for chasing games. The reason I mean that is, mate, is if you look at like Sterling, he's a bang average finisher. He's nearly scored 100 Premier League goals playing in that team. So what I mean is, how that winning goal, basically the low ball across for a tap-in at the back post. I mean, how many times have they scored that? It's actually infuriating, but they do it all the time, and teams can't seem to stop it. So see, because they do that, and see, because you're not relying on a piece of individual brilliance at times, if you know what I mean. You're not relying on Salah have to bend in from like 20, no, just inside the box. He's got to be at it. I feel like they can score goals which like it can be a simplified finish, and that's why I always worry with City is when they get one. I feel like they'll create chances to win it, and ultimately that's what happened, mate. And it is what's your thoughts on well, I wouldn't even say criticism, because I think it's just kind of echo chambers been saying about Villa, about Gerrard, and because I actually thought if any manager can go to Etihad and compete, that's a good job. That's better than most of the managers for the teams outside the top three probably this season.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's an uncomfortable conversation because he's our legend, isn't it? And sometimes you just have to try and detach yourself from that if you can. I know it's difficult. In football, emotion runs high all the time and we get very territorial. So about arguably our greatest ever player, we're going to get like territorial and defensive if anything needs to be said. But you got to hold your hands up sometimes and just go, look, Gerrard isn't to blame for Liverpool not winning the league in any way, shape or form. There are 37 other games where we should have had the job done better and we shouldn't even have been up to Stevie. It was actually a really unfair pressure put on Gerrard that he knew, because let's be honest, we made jokes about it before. He did think to himself, Jesus, I can actually win Liverpool the league. And that must have been so much pressure on him. And I think that pressure might have been why bottling it is the wrong word, because when a team who's inferior doesn't win the game, you can't bottle it. I think bottling can only be put at the team who is supposed to win. I think the team that's meant to lose can't really be called bottlers. But I got to be honest with you, bro, watching it back, if you look at the difference between Man City in the 28th minute, 32nd minute, 45th minute, 58th minute, 67th minute, if you go and look at them then, and you go and look at them in the 74th, 75th minute onwards, Gerrard literally dropped the ball. He did. Like, he dropped the ball. You do not bring off Coutinho and Buendia, the only ball carriers, ball retainers, and goal threat, apart from Watkins, but he was having an absolute shocker, in the team, and bring on defensive players. Because it does two things, bro. Not only does it invite pressure when you're not good at dealing with pressure. It wasn't like he was bringing on Claude Makelele and Dunga, do you know what I mean? and you know what I mean? Or like, it's like he's bringing on Maldini, and you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like he was bringing on players who were absolutely amazing at defending. Aston Villa can't defend in general as a team. And to then bring in that level of like, kind of like, let's just hold on. All you're doing is adding encouragement to Man City at that point. Literally, you're saying, go on then. And for 15 minutes of the Etihad, you don't encourage Man City to attack you. You just don't. It's the dumbest thing ever. And then not only that, bro, you're negating any worry in their mind, because they probably would have still attacked because they have to win the game. But in the back of their mind, they would have thought, shit, Buendia and Coutinho can get the ball at any time and hurt us though. So they're still thinking cautiously themselves. Just like Real Madrid against us in the 17-18 final. When Salah went off, they didn't win that game because they're better than us. They won that game because they pushed 15 yards up the field, not having to worry about us getting in behind anymore. And all of a sudden, the pressure was off them and it was on us. Yeah, like that things can happen like that.
I think I watched his interview, and I think, to be fair, Gerrard, that wasn't his plan in the sense. I think he had confidence in his team to keep playing, but they just, like, you are right, mate. I understand, especially Coutinho, because you know he can maybe take the sting out a little bit. But I don't know if, I've not looked into it as much, but I don't know if there was circumstances, if Coutinho just couldn't run anymore, if the reason, but obviously both of them.
I think he just went defensive, bro. 2-0 up at Etihad with 15 minutes to go. I think he thought they could see it out. I do. I think it, and because City weren't playing well, I think he thought, yeah, we can see this out. But he just gave the encouragement to City. Do you know what I mean?
And also, I mean, fair play City as well. They make 3 changes that completely change the game as well.
Yeah, that's that as well.
Gundogan as well. You can bring Gundogan off the bench, you know, to have that impact. But like, for me, mate, it's like I get what you're saying, and I think one mistake in a game doesn't mean it was actually overall bad performance managed. Because I think to be in a situation where you're 2-0 up and should be 3-0 up if Watkins scores, I think your tactics have been good, and that's what does annoy me, because people want to like talk about football like football. What is the word? actual football knowledge and not just like echo chambers. But then as soon as City win, they're saying he's balled it. I'm like, hold on. Eddie Howe, you know how much I like Eddie Howe. Newcastle got pumped 5-0 at the Etihad. How many teams have been absolutely destroyed? So for a manager to actually compete, overall he didn't manage a drift. But I still think that's, to me, that does more for him. For him to make one mistake, but actually in the game have a lot of strengths against City. To me, it actually shows a bit of improvement in his management. Obviously, that mistake at the end he'll learn from. But I think it's very dismissive to say it was because I actually think he got a lot of the stuff right. I think he only really made one mistake in that game.
It was the substitution. No, you're right, bro. It was just bringing off the two attacking players and not because what it also did was when City went 3-2 up, they knew there was no threat for an equaliser either. Yeah. Because if Coutinho and Buendia are still on the pitch, in that last 15 minutes, Villa could have pressed and maybe even got an equaliser because they're both brilliant from long range. They're both creative. City might have been rattled a bit there, anything could have happened in that 15 because with attacking players on the pitch, Gerrard would have just went, nothing to lose now, innit? Go on, boys. And he would have just sent everybody and they could have got caught and it could have been 4-2 or they could have equalised. Them two off the field, there was no threat left. There was literally no threat.
Good so kind of like Man City actually against Madrid. See when they brought them
literally.
Off. Yeah.
Literally the exact same thing. Once De Bruyne and Mahrez were off the pitch, how was Man City going to score? Do you get what I mean?
Game over. But see, the thing is, mate, I agree, and I do think that'll be good for him, managerial wise. To be honest, I actually think he'll learn from that. Listen, I don't think this person's not the best manager to talk about, but I always remember Ian Holloway. I think he said this with Blackpool before Blackpool got promoted, and that went on that crazy season.
I like Holloway. Holloway was a good manager.
It was, but he basically said, because he had different formations over his career, tried different things, but he actually said, I'm sure it was Holloway, he said, I once was a 2-0 up, and I brought a defensive midfielder on and took an attacker off, and we drew 2-2. And ever since then, I've never tried to hold it. He just keeps the same team. And it's very easy to say that, because there's obviously other factors during the game, but I think you'll learn from it. But I actually did say, mate, the fact that they actually didn't roll over, I actually gave them a lot of credit for that, considering, let's be honest, a lot of those players aren't going to be there next season, especially defensively for Villa. And they've already signed Carlos and Kamara. So
yeah, you see, so if he had those guys, that's why I was saying it's not like he had Maldini and Makalele. I think those tactics weren't even that bad. It's just the personnel wasn't good enough. Like if you swap, say for example, you put Carlos in there, right? Then say we sold them Gomez and you swap Mings and you put Gomez there. Gomez wouldn't even have made that mistake that Mings made for the third goal. Yeah. Like that was the most terrible control I've ever seen in my life.
He did actually have a good game. And listen, I'm not his biggest fan, but he did actually have a good game up to that, because a lot of folk have said, and he's not a good player. I'm not saying that, Drifty, but it's like that's the thing with Mings. He actually, see if he didn't make a mistake in that game, he probably could have got a lot of credit in the bank and said, you know what, he stepped up. But because the biggest moment came from his error, that's all people are going to see now. And it's a bit baffling. I'm not going to go into the Mings agenda, but it's like, to me, it was like a lot of people were worried about that going into the game. And ultimately, listen, it's an outrageous cross if he means it by De Bruyne, but you can't afford to make mistakes like that against, I'd say, both of our Liverpool and Man City right now. They're that, both teams are that deadly that you just, that's the level. But listen, it's over now, mate. We move on to the Champions League final. I enjoyed that chat though, because I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was even going to say their second goal, Ramsey's only a kid. He should have closed Rodri down. He shouldn't have even been allowed that shot. That's inexperience. He's a young kid. He you know what I mean? There's so many, even De Bruyne making a run into the box. The midfield should have tracked the run. It's just inexperience, isn't it? So no slight on Gerrard, but I just think it was a mistake to bring off the two forwards.
Yeah. And this is the thing we spoke about though, as well, Drifty, that I'm not saying he will, Klopp's the man, right? But if it ever is in the future, he's going to have to learn at the Premier League level. And this is why I think Villa's a good opportunity for him as well, to see if he can cut it. And I think the signings in next season, when he gets the players in, I think there will be a bit of a pressure cooker on him at the start because of the signings they're bringing in. But I'm actually looking forward to see how it goes, see if he implements the style of football he had at Rangers on the Villa team. And it'll be interesting. But we'll move on. before we get to the Champions League, a little interlude there, mate. I want to ask you about Klopp, who has won the Premier League Manager of the Year and the LMA. The reason I say both is kind of just generally that people look at the LMA as it is the League Managers Association, but they do take into consideration like domestic cups, Champions League run, etc. Now, typically people also do the same with the Premier League one. But that might have been a bit loose in recent years, to be honest, because people always have different arguments. I just wanted to get your thoughts on Klopp winning those 2 awards, mate, and how do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's weird because when you win it, you're over the moon if you feel like your player deserves it or your manager deserves it. But at the same time, when I watch the absolute farce that goes on these days with the individual awards, it's almost like I don't care. Do you get what I mean? Like I really don't. Like it's weird because
too many times it's like it's not as if one is wrong or you disagree with one.
Yeah,
like,
it's like regularly in it. It's literally
it's like
every
season. There's only one when everyone agrees with. Do you know what I mean? Like for me, Salah winning it this year, right? If he did, everyone would be like, fair enough. Not really arguments with that. But it seems to be every year. I'm not being contentious. I feel like every year there's one where it's like
it's just favoritism.
Yeah, like because there's sometimes where you're like Mahrez for Leicester when they won the league. Everyone's like 100%. What a season! There you go.
Hazard when Chelsea won the league, without a doubt. Yeah,
that's
give
it.
it to him.
That's it. But other times it seems to be even at times the player who you actually think is closest to the award. So like De Bruyne right now from the Christmas, it seems to be reactionary more for me than it is. I'll let you go there now, mate. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, not even Christmas, bro. De Bruyne started playing well in February.
It's February, yeah. Sorry, February.
Do you know, it wasn't even Christmas, bro. So he's played well for 2.5 months and then he wins Player of the Year. Like, yeah, bro, I don't like, is it like Ballon d'Or, all of that stuff? I mean, come on, man. If Liverpool do, God's willing, win the Champions League, Mane, without a shadow of a doubt, is the Ballon d'Or winner. Like, I'm sorry, he just is, because based on the criteria, right? Based on the criteria, like what you win. Yeah. How can you win? How can you win the African Cup of Nations, a cup treble, come second, be one of the top goal scorers, play absolutely outstanding since what, December, January time, win a Champions League, and then not be the Ballon d'Or winner? But he won't even be mentioned. Bro, Mane wasn't even mentioned in the 10 shortlist for Player of the Year in the Premier League. Are you kidding me, bro? What are we talking about here? Like,
I do feel though, Drifty, like I think if Mane, for me, I'm tomorrow. I think Mane's the clutch guy. I've always said that, even though, listen, we've both said this. He's not always played well, but he's effective. He's been effective for a long time now. 100%. I know he's played really well recently, and like since February. I'm not disputing that. I agree with that. I'm just, as you'd call it, like I'm being 100 honest. At the start of the season, I kept saying I'm very effective. But he's not, every game he wasn't playing amazing. But listen, I said I wasn't wanting him dropped because he's still being effective.
Always a threat. Even when playing poorly by his standard, he's still constantly a threat throughout the game, the whole 90 minutes.
But he seems to have got the confidence back in his actual link-up play now. It seems to be very high. So what I would say though, for me, mate, I think if he does that tomorrow, I would say it's him or probably Benzema. I think the way Benzema's Champions League campaign is when, like, just you talk about clutch. I think it's one of those two, and obviously Salah comes in that situation, that conversation as well. I think there's a few things to happen until the Ballon d'Or awards, but I agree, mate. It seems to be that people might disagree because everyone knows how much I love Messi, but see the Jorginho one. Remember, it was like last year there was this kind of the campaign to get Jorginho to win it. This is what annoys me. It shouldn't be a campaign to get someone to win an award. It should be just
you deserve it.
And that's the thing, mate. And I think like opposition fans get annoyed and they go the opposite way. So they're like I actually think Mane, I agree with you, he does deserve to be in that conversation, but it's like we even egg that on anymore because we see things like Jorginho try to put him in that conversation, and I think that annoys people as well. But yeah, I agree with those individual awards. Regarding the manager award, I usually actually don't mind that one, Drifty, to be honest, because the LMA one at times is given fair like one, so it's not always the guy who wins the league. Like I think, remember Steve Steve Coppell for Reading, he won it. I think.
Yeah, and there's someone else who won it. I remember as well. It was like
George Burnley is the famous one because it was when Hooley won the treble. They do award it a bit before the UEFA Cup, and I think he won it then because Ipswich finished third. There's been a few where it's always quite interesting. So I'll give them credit. They actually usually are okay. Like they don't always get
and I think the other managers vote for that one, don't they? Isn't it actually the managers themselves that vote for that one?
Managers, I'm sure it's the managers with that one, and it's not a public vote. It's either the managers and a panel if it comes close, I think. But it's that side of things. So, what was your thoughts on Klopp winning? Firstly, the LMA one.
Fully deserved them both. Like, I mean, there's been some unbelievable performances this season in the league and some stories. You got the Brentford story, which is amazing. You got the David Moyes story, which is amazing.
It's died down a bit the last couple of weeks. I think getting
it did, but that was to be expected when you look at their squad, though. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there was a couple of brilliant stories, and I mean, in the end, it doesn't look that great. But Potter, I mean, Brighton, was it 11th they finished in the end?
He wasn't even in the shortlist. Which
I mean, come on, man. And it's about the football Brighton play as well. It isn't even just about the position. It's about
they finished ninth, didn't they? They finished ninth.
Ninth? Oh, that's even better, bro.
I might be incorrect, but I think it was the highest ever finish because they beat West Ham on the last day.
It was definitely the highest ever finish. But whatever it was a brilliant campaign. So, and obviously Pep wins the league as well. So I get that. He won the league. Do you know what I mean? He did. But I'm sorry, if you're a manager who is effectively 15 minutes away from going into this weekend's game on a quadruple, and you played every single game possible for the entire season, while coping with your star players going off the AFCON, while having to deal with all other kind of personal stuff. At the beginning of the season, there was still the bid situation. Everything he's had to navigate with this squad to get to this stage. Who else could it have been? Like, honestly, if you don't think it's Klopp, then it's the most biased, jealous, hating, whatever emotion you want to call it. Jurgen Klopp is working miracles. And I'd just like to say to every non-Liverpool fan, seriously, you should be thanking Jurgen Klopp because he's the only one adding any integrity to the Premier League. Yes, because without Jurgen Klopp, this league would have been won in February for the last 5 years in a row, and there'd be absolutely nothing anybody could do about it. And we wouldn't be talking about the Premier League as this great, amazing thing. We'd just be like, yeah, well, the race for Champions League's fun, isn't it? That's it. That's all would be. We wouldn't be talking about anything else. That's why everybody downplays when we won it the year we did in between, because we won it so early. Nobody saw a competition, and therefore they just tried to act like it was crap. So what? We won it in record time. That's not our fault. That would be City every year without Klopp.
No, 100%, mate. And actually, I mean, people keep saying 4 out of 5 PL titles Pep's won, but that would be 5 out of 5, and that will continue. People probably, mate, would be looking at around the league, and obviously Newcastle still a bit to go, but that's probably they're looking at like your Newcastle's, is Man United, Ten Hag going to work? But at times I feel like, I'll be honest, mate, clutching at straws is maybe a bit incorrect. That's maybe a bit disrespectful, but what I mean is it's like with Chelsea spending in the summer, the amount they've got in that squad, and for them to not even compete, it does show that thankfully we're there and there is a bit of competition. Because what I mean is, it's all good spending money, and listen, we're not going to get into City and the amount they spend, but those teams spent a lot. The one thing is City tend to spend, they've not every signing's been wise, but they seem to at least do it so they can push ahead. Whereas if you look at Chelsea, they've spent 100 million on Lukaku and they're probably 2 steps behind, which is, if you
Man City spending is sensational. Where they get the money from, we won't talk about.
And they can afford to make mistakes, Drifty. Like, look at Mendy, like, but I want to talk about him. But like, you know, there's like a Diallo, what was he called? Danilo, stuff like that. They can afford to try stuff. Cancelo is like, he's worked out great, but like that could have.
Cancelo was on the bench for a little while, for about a season or so. He was on the bench, 66 million, weren't it? They paid for him.
No, don't get me wrong, absolute baller. He is absolute baller, right? And actually, ironically, most Liverpool fans probably give him the most credit because when you watch him play it from left back, it is quite interesting to see that. But what I mean is, it's like, you're right. The fact if we're not there, mate, this becomes a monopoly. This 100% becomes a monopoly. Ironically, what Germany is now since Klopp left as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's I have no problem with how they spend the money. It's just where it comes from. Their scouting and the way they do things, they're just as good as us. They barely buy a bad player. They barely do. As you said, they've got
I think
room for.
analytically, we're quite good though, mate, because we find the ones that we can fit into our, like, more feasible with our model, if you know what I mean. But I get it's one of them, like Alvarez, for example.
They barely buy badly though. They do rarely buy bad. Like, most
point.
of the time, they do get it right. Do you know what I mean? Like, I must say, their scouting and whatever it is that Pep asks, putting them where they get the money from aside, they are brilliant at what they do. They have very few flops. They got so many players that come in, and within a year, once they've learned how Pep wants them to play, they're good. Do you know what I mean?
Rodgers is a good example of that as well.
Yeah,
people are saying, is Rodgers good enough in this? Yeah, no, but
Cancelo. I mean, look at their bench, bro. Like, they had Walker, Sterling, Zinchenko, Grealish, and Gundogan on their bench. Bro, that bench is about 300 million pounds.
Sterling as well, 350. Sterling as well, because he came on, didn't he?
Bro, who can afford to have a bench worth more than 300 million pounds, bro?
It's crazy.
Like, I mean, come on, man. How are you supposed to? What are you supposed to do with that, bro? Like,
no, listen, mate. We'll talk about that more in summer. And I want a quick. We'll go on to the LMA managers and then the Champions League quickly, because I know you need to go, mate. But just a quick question on this, right? Because I was listening to a lot of podcasts recently, mate, getting the walks and getting the runs in, and something I actually want to ask you, because I think you're a bit like me in the sense of you don't always go with the old fashioned rhetoric that big teams will always like get back and compete. Like, I'm sure some will, and some are so big they won't disappear. Of course not. But see this thing that people, I heard someone say that like City will stop. I'm not so sure they will. And like with teams like Newcastle getting that injection as well, and people saying, oh, Arsenal will definitely come back. But how do we know, mate? Aston Villa won the European Cup and they've just got back to Premier League. Nottingham Forest are just in the playoffs. Now, I know there's levels. I'm not disputing that. I just wanted to get your opinion on it, Drifty, mate. Are we at a stage now where there is definitely going to be a cycle? Because I don't know if we've experienced this much cash injection in a team before to see that there's a precedent that that'll stop in the future anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think it will. I really don't. I think the only thing that we can hope for, bro, is they just drop a level that makes it competitive. And I think that's the reason why I'll always say to people when they're like, why are you backing Pep? I'm like, look, guys, don't get me wrong. I hate the guy now. Like, he's an enemy now, isn't it? Like, he's the reason we haven't won 4 Premier Leagues effectively. But if you take your bias out of it and you just look at the situation, the money is the part that makes it difficult, but the manager is the part that makes it complete. And Pep is just something else. He just is. Like, there's no point denying it. He is absolutely something else. Even just his relentlessness to win, bro. I think you've got other managers who were brilliant, but they still don't have that will to win. Like, this guy won't stop until he's won. Do you get what I mean? Like, it's just that alone, the drive to motivate the squad to just keep continually being at that level. And I think if Pep left and those exact same players were there, we could win the league. Like, I mean, we can win it even within there, but I mean, like, quite confidently. Like, I think if Pep left, they could get anyone they wanted that's out there still left in the world. Yeah. And I would think Liverpool would have a 20% better chance of winning the league. It's literally Pep.
Yeah, you know, listen, I agree. I think the thing with Pep as well, and it's not a Man City loving, of course not, but when you look at him as Pep, as much as he's an overthinker, and he has bottled some matches, I do think he always, like people talking about like Haaland saying it won't work. Listen, Haaland will play 20 games next season or even 25. He won't play any more than that because he doesn't need to. But I can guarantee you right now that Pep looks to change the way he plays and evolve. Like, he'll keep the main style, but the movement changes. Look how many we talk about Sterling and Foden and the movement and the goals, like the amount of goals they score. That wasn't always like that at Barcelona. Like, there are similar ways, but he definitely tries to adapt and evolve in parts. He's not like, this is the way I'm playing. Like, obviously tick-attack. He wants the possession game, but he definitely looks at different areas to try different things. And to be fair to him, when it does pay off, like, it is quite impressive. But it is annoying, mate, because it's like I actually see the Barcelona team with Pep, and I think that's the best team who ever played. The one at 10-11 team who beat Man United at Wembley, they couldn't touch the ball.
Greatest club team we'll ever see.
I think so, 100%. David Villa, bear in mind, was a striker, and he was playing left wing in that team. And it's like, so you talk about, it's just that team for me is just unbelievable. And beating Man United made it even better.
Yeah.
But on that, when you see him there, it's like, I think our manager is the best, but the only one who competes on right now is him. And to be fair, Pep will probably say the exact same about Liverpool. He probably will about like Klopp. But this is the problem, mate, because I feel like if a Nagelsmann's in there, if your top coaches like a Hansi Flick, I think they do great. They might win the league against us, but I think with Klopp, we've got an edge, and we'll probably win the league 3 times out of 4. But
yeah. No, I agree.
He is the common denominator, unfortunately, mate. But listen,
I wish he would leave, but he's not going to, is he? And here's the unfortunate thing: he's never had it so good, and that's why he's not going to go, because there's nowhere else after Man City other than international football. Unfortunately, that's it. He's never going to be Real Madrid manager because of his Barca connection. And I don't think he respects the French league enough to care about being PSG manager.
Italy is the only one, but even then, I don't know if he'd do that. Maybe Juventus.
Yeah, but what team in Italy would he see as they've got the resources to give me what I need? Because there's no money left in Italy anymore. Do you know what I mean?
No, that's a good point. No, I agree with that, mate. I'm just meaning more for he's never done it that way, but do you know what I mean? Like you talk about.
No, you're right. I think the Juve job, probably, maybe, yeah, you probably are. Or maybe the Inter Milan job, maybe.
But it'd be interesting though, because both of them have had issues with money, so it wouldn't be like here's your plate.
That's what I mean, bro.
Be that. So
I mean, maybe if AC Milan continue their growth and they get back properly on the perch, maybe he'll go and go back there. They've got the most prestige in Europe out of all of the Italian teams.
I could see that mixing in the sense of the style of football, like maybe you'd wanted to adapt it, but we'll see. But we'll go again next season, mate. You know what it's like. A couple of weeks. We'll hopefully win big years tomorrow night, and then we'll feel refreshed. You and the Kopish guys have literally been non-stop all season, and I think you need to take a bow and deserve a round of applause for how much you've put in. So a pre-match, right? A watch along, and then a post-match, and then the Prem show, then the Monday night show. Unbelievable, mate. And
and the Friday calling show takes a lot of energy.
Of course, that's the only show as well. That's mad, but
I appreciate that, man.
You deserve it, honestly. You deserve it. You're moving massive, but you deserve it as well. Outstanding. But we'll move to just the last 5 minutes, if you're okay, mate. With the championship.
Yeah, that's cool.
Just the one thing about the LMA I wanted to mention as well. The only one I would say I think the Premier League maybe deserved it if Klopp didn't win it. I'd probably say Thomas Frank. 13th with Brentford is impressive. See, if that was awarded to him, I don't think I would have a problem with that. At the Premier League one, I'd say fair enough, take that.
Yeah. He's been amazing. Been amazing.
I like him because see when they lost to Man United, and he was like they dominated. He wasn't being respectful. He wasn't being like just sitting there quiet. The post match, he went, "No, we absolutely battered them." Absolutely battered them. And I was like, do you know what? You need that. Like, I think people have said there is similarities to Klopp in the way he is, the way he kind of believes, creates that environment, bringing Eriksen in. So I think Thomas Frank deserves a lot of praise. But listen,
he deserves a big job if it goes wrong at Brentford. I think. I don't think he's a flash in the pan manager. I think he deserves a big job.
He's got something about him. I do think he's not a kind of egotistical aura, but more like that kind of. I wouldn't say like a Mourinho siege mentality. I don't mean like that, but do you know how he gets players to believe what they can do, and you've seen that like Rico Henry. Obviously, people spoke about Tony, but even in Buemo, I've been quite impressed, like with the players in that team. Like so.
No, definitely. No, he's a brilliant manager. He is.
Yeah, no, he's good, mate. So listen, final topic, Drift. I appreciate your time. Is obviously we've avoided talking about it because we don't want to think about it, and you're going to do like a 3-hour show later on it. So I'm trying my best to hold off. But tomorrow night, listen, we've both done shows this week about teams and that. I'm not going to talk about that. I just want to ask you that we spoke for quite a while now on YouTube. What's your thoughts going into tomorrow? Are you nervous? Are you confident? Just where are you at?
Yeah, naturally, nervous as always. It could be Norwich tomorrow, and I'd still be nervous. I can't remember who it was. It was one of my favorite boxers. I just can't remember which one of them it was because I got about 4 or 5 boxers that I love. I can't remember which one it was, but he basically said, when the nerves go, stop, because people seem
I've
to.
heard that. I can't remember who it is as well. Was that not a British boxer who said that? Oh,
I can't remember who it was. It might have been Kell Brook.
Yeah, no, it is because Tyson's not that one. Tyson, the best quote by Tyson is everyone can punch until you get hit. That is the best. Everybody knows someone who talks a good game until they get hit.
Yeah, no, it's true. And you all know someone who can fight till he gets punched in the face, and then no, it's true. But yeah, so if the nerves stop, then if the nerves go, then stop. And I've always hung on to that and made it like a thing where it makes me stop feeling weird about why I feel that way. Because like I said, it could be Norwich at home on the last day of the season. And if we need them 3 points, I'm still going to be nervous. And everyone will be like, are you stupid? You're going to steamroll Norwich. I'll be like, look, I'm nervous. Just leave me alone. It's just how I am when it comes to football.
I'm the same, mate. I'm always
so I'm naturally bricking it about this game tomorrow, naturally.
You're doing like 4 shows. So we talk.
Yeah, I know, brother. I know. It's like, here's the weird thing. If I take my emotion out of it, if I take my bias towards Liverpool out of it, and I just look at it for what it is, Real Madrid shouldn't stand a chance tomorrow. Football just doesn't work like that, does it? No, Real Madrid shouldn't even be in this final. Mate, they shouldn't. They're inferior to PSG, Chelsea, and Man City, and they still beat them. So that's what worries me. I'm scared of the heritage. I know it sounds really weird, but I'm actually scared of the heritage. Of course, Benzema's an absolute beast. Of course, Vinny is a hell of a threat. Modric, he does this, innit? Like this, he does it in his sleep. Of course, they've got players like that. Camavinga, Rodrigo off the bench. Like, we know they've got players who can hurt us at all angles. We know it. Even people who are getting downplayed in midfield, other than Modric. You know what I mean? Like, they've got so many players that can hurt us. I see Valverde doing like
Camavinga as well, coming off the bench. You said Cruz.
Yeah, like Valverde was doing some kind of like thing on Instagram and smiling at the camera saying he's getting ready for Liverpool. And I'm like, they've got great players. There's no doubt about it. But defensively, they're not good. They're just not. And every team they've played against has proved that. Somehow they've just still come through the game. So I'm scared of the heritage, bro. Yeah, I think that's what I'm scared of.
The heritage. See, for me, mate, is like, if you talk about, I don't go down about the heritage as much, but if you talk about who they are, and then when you've got someone like Benzema, who, this is the worry for me, and I know you and Cal and Matt were talking about the other night. This worries me, is I think if you give Benzema one chance, he can score, right? Against one of the best keepers in the world, Alisson. He can do it, okay?
Yeah.
I've said to this, so this worries me, and I know you were talking about it, is if Madrid go 1-0 up, that gives me the fear, because I feel like there's times where if our confidence gets a bit knocked, I could see us not creating enough opportunities to get back in that game. And that's the one situation where I've got the fear with tomorrow. I think if we start well, we're confident, we're controlled, we should be able, I think, if Thiago and Fabinho are fit, to control the possession. I don't know if you disagree, but that's the one situation I get a bit scared, because see, when you've not got a number 9 in the team at all, like when you're chasing a game, I mean, I don't mean your standard play, because obviously D-Box not on the bench, and you could say Jota, for me, does a job, but he's not necessarily number 9 when you're chasing it, kitchen sink. That sometimes gives me a bit of the fear, because I sometimes think there's certain times when you're chasing a game, you need to throw everything at them. That's the only situation where I feel like, you know what, that might go against us tomorrow. And that would really, really get to me, to be honest, mate. But do you think, does that situation, is that the one where you would fear Madrid? Because I think if it's a shootout, we'll beat them. I think if it's for me, I think
if it's like blow for blow, you mean?
Yeah, I think pound for pound, I think we'll beat them. I think if it's similar to the way Tottenham played us, not with a free obviously, but they sit deep and then they catch us in the break. Don't get me wrong, we were a bit off it that night, but I think if you look at Kane and Son, and you look at Vinny and Benzema, Kane and Son actually created quite a lot of good opportunities. Sorry, didn't create a lot, but the opportunities they created were quite good. So I think they'll play that way. I might be wrong. They might try and come out and out-possession us. I don't think that would be smart. I hope they do because there'll be space. But that's sorry, get back to that drift. That's the one situation I'm fearful of. Is we have chances, they go up there and get one chance and score, and then we can't break them down. That's the one. That's the one in my head. Because I know you were talking about it tonight, and I looked at you when you said it, and I thought you said we'll get back in it. But I think in your head you're a bit like me. Like I've seen games where we just can't break teams down when they're like, like
it's me thinking about us being at our best because I don't want to think about us being that off Liverpool that can turn up. Do you get what I mean? If we're at our best, that defense can't handle us. Not a chance. Not a chance. But will we be at our best? What worries me more than anything about this game, bro, is our fatigue. And again, everybody's going to act like it's an excuse. It's not an excuse. We played 63 games. Some of them include extra time. For some of our players, 4 or 5 of those games include extra time. We are exhausted. If there was a World Cup this summer, bro, I would be so worried for our players. I genuinely would, because that would mean they'd be finishing the summer off the back of about 75 games, including the friendlies. Like, I mean, come on, bro. Like, what the hell are we talking about here? Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, Diaz has already played 72. This is going to be Diaz's 73rd game, including international. What are we talking about here, bro? This is insanity. Like for me personally, it's the fatigue. They're fresh. They haven't had to play competitive football for 3 weeks, bro. Do you know what I mean? They won their league, the game after they went through against City. So they've been on a break this entire time while we've been slugging it out in an FA Cup final and all this stuff. They're fresh. They're relaxed. They've got energy. They're completely all right, bro. There's nothing. They've got no injury woes apart from Marcelo, who don't even play anyway. They are just fresh, ready to go. Whereas is he going to be fit? He's out of form. He's just coming back. Is he going to be all right? Bro, I'm worried about the fatigue of the club.
Do you know what, though, mate? I'll put something at you. I agree with the fatigue, the injuries, obviously. But the one thing I would say is, see, when we've had big breaks, I don't actually think we've played that well. We've came back immediately. So if you talk about...
I get that argument.
No, I'll change that slightly. We would definitely look tired, but I think having this break might be a break that's a good enough break that means we're not rusty, but we're also can rest up. So when you look at like Trent's looked quite tired, Robbo's looked really tired. So I think that's enough of a break for them to get a 90-minute game or a final in them to perform at their best or at least a high level. I think that's okay. I think we'll be okay in that sense.
But you're right. You're right. A whole week off probably is the longest we want.
Yeah. 5 subs though, mate. 5 subs is good. It's great for us. 5 subs.
But they can also make the 5 subs in it, so they're going to keep bringing on all these players that help them change the game as well. So there's always that worry. You know what I mean?
No, I get that, mate. I get that. I do get that, but
it's a difficult one, isn't it? It's almost a 50-50 game. It really is. It really and I was saying to people as well. I'm not being disrespectful to Real Madrid at all. They are a great team, obviously, but it's like if we woke up in the morning tomorrow and for whatever reason found out Benzema wasn't in the game, I'd never wish injury on anyone, so I don't want to say that. But like, I don't know, like he woke up and he had the flu or something and he couldn't play the game. I think even the bookies would probably double down on Liverpool to be winners, because without Benzema, all of a sudden it would be like, well, of course they can beat us, but without Benzema, what are the chances? Do you get what I mean? Whereas if you ask them which one you can take out, they'd still be like, oh, but he's still there. Oh, but he's still there. Oh, but he's still there. We do have a few more players who you've got to be that bit more worried about than them on that. You know what I mean? Like Van Dijk, Salah, Mane.
You compare both the squads, I mean, I would say we've got maybe a few more, but I definitely get what you're saying, because obviously they've got Vinicius, Benzema, Modric, as you said, but I'd say there's a bit more for us. However, I think the Thiago Fabinho thing, well, I'd say Fabinho's definitely starting now, But the Thiago thing is going to be interesting. But yeah, so I'm not going to ask your score prediction, Drifty. I'm just going to say, what do you think is going to be key tomorrow? Who do you think is going to be your player of the match, or your player who's going to be important, and what maybe matchup do you think is going to be pivotal?
I'm going to go Mane man of to be Liverpool's man of the match.
Can see that, yeah.
And I think what's going to be very important, which is why people really looked at me sideways when I said it, but I stand by it. I'd go Milner and Henderson and Naby to start the game and have the option of Flacco and Thiago, because if Flacco's hamstrings give in and we've already got to make a substitution early in the game, that's a problem. I don't think people are realizing that's a problem. I think it'll be brilliant to have him to bring on to either control the game or to help if we're chasing the game, not get caught out, more than start him. And if something goes wrong, do you get what I mean? Because he's a penalty taker as well in case that horrible scenario comes around. So if he comes on as a sub, he's available for a penalty. Whereas if he's not, I think the midfield is the key.
I get. Actually, funnily enough, you mentioned that, Drift. I actually get the Fabinho take more than the Thiago one, because I think like Henderson's done well at 6, so I'd be okay with him starting there. But I do think, for me, just me, and you might think differently to bring him on. For me, Thiago, if you're playing him, I'd rather start him and then see how long you get. Because if he's already unsure, but the thing, if it works with Thiago, Drift, is he can command that control and composure and settle everyone. I'm not saying we're all going to be nervous, right? But not everyone's at it from the very first minute, like decision-making wise. But I know he will be. So so for me, I wouldn't be against Fabinho starting on the bench. But for me, I personally would play Thiago definitely starting. Keita played good this season. Worries me a little bit though, because he had a nightmare against Real Madrid last season when he played them. He couldn't hack it. His pressing was all
his indecision is what worries me, bro. It's not his ability; it's his indecision. He shoots when he shouldn't.
He's been much better this season. I'll give him that. He has been much better. So I think
he has. But in these big games, this is where we can't have the indecision.
Yeah, so that's why I go for Thiago for me, mate.
I know. No, you're right. You're right. Although I do worry if Thiago came off, all of a sudden everyone will go, "Oh shit! How do we control the game now?" That's the worry as well. Do you get what I mean? So, bro, look. I don't even think I want to watch the game, if I'm being honest.
Do you know the Milner shout though, Drift? Can I just add, the fact that you're saying that, mate, right, shows how well he's done recently as well, that some fans are okay with that. Do you know what I mean?
I'm 100% okay with him getting a new contract. 100% okay with it.
Fair play. He's done really well 100%. Recently. He really, really has. But yeah, so last one, we've done that then, Drift, and I know you're going to talk about it all night, so you don't have to give a score prediction, okay? I'm not going to ask because I know you don't like to do that. But do you think the front three, I think we'll say Mane, Salah, Diaz, right? Do you think the way the game's going to go tomorrow, do you think it'll be finished in 90 minutes, extra time, or it'll go to penalties? That's all I'm going to ask you.
Reluctantly, I'm scared either Real Madrid win it in 90 minutes or it goes to penalties. That's what I'm scared of.
Yeah,
I'd probably say penalty. If you twisted my arm, I'd say it's going to penalties.
Well, I can't, Drifty. I'm going to pass out if we have penalties again.
Bro, yeah, look, bruv, I can't do it. I can't, bruv. I can't.
I'm going to say what I think will happen, mate. I think it'll be 2-1 Liverpool in normal time. I think we've not had a massive tactical breakdown because we've all spoke about that all week. The one tactical analysis I looked at is Real Madrid from set pieces have been woeful this season, and Van Dijk and Matip, if it's Konate, I'm just saying this as a stat, they've won the most headers in the Champions League. So I think
hopefully,
set pieces, that could be something. I've got a feeling Van Dijk might score from a set piece tomorrow. Just a weird feeling I've had this week about that. But I think that is an area we need to think about. Our set pieces are good, and that's a weakness. So hopefully Klopp's been working all week on that with them. But I think that might be pivotal. But honestly, mate, you've got the show tonight. You're going to enjoy that and break it down. And then you're doing a watch along for the game tomorrow?
Yeah, fucking hell, brother. Look, I hope that what you just said. I would literally
watching these games. You are me. Like I am the same, but I just can't put myself in front of a camera because I know what I'm like. I will be on the table like this.
Yeah, bro. Look, I nearly passed out during the Wolves game.
Oh,
I like once I heard that City were losing, I couldn't deal with it, but
it's
I
too much.
physically
It's too
felt
much.
sick.
It's too much, isn't it? You
Yeah, like
you
I
can't focus.
physically felt sick, bro. But yeah, you've given me some confidence. I'm gonna be like, do you know what? 2-1 Liverpool, Matip and Van Dijk to get the goals. How about that?
This, mate, honestly, like I'm telling you, I do think set pieces is one thing that City are they're good. Cancelo, I don't think they've scored this. Maybe I'm wrong
In the
there.
league, they've been the best at set pieces.
Actually, well, actually, I take that back then. But I know we are good, and maybe
We're
City.
best in the Champions League. They've been best in the
Really,
Premier League.
maybe City didn't hurt Madrid as much as they could from set pieces, because I know that's been one of their weakness areas. So hopefully we'll focus on that. But anyway, we'll look forward to the match, mate. But honestly, thanks very much for your time. I'll let
Yeah,
you
no, pleasure,
go
man.
now and get a break, but we'll just head. But yeah, obviously check out Kopish if you've not. I'm sure they have already. But enjoy the game. Hopefully Liverpool get the win, and then I don't even know what I'm going to do if they do. I've not even thought that far ahead of
No,
what
never
happens
have I,
after
bro.
it.
Never
So
have I.
we'll see.
Never have I.
But
Yeah, no,
but,
pleasure, man. Pleasure, man.
yeah,
Make sure
thanks, mate.
you get subscribed and smash the like button, people. Come on, man. Make sure you get that done, man.
All right. Thanks, mate. All right, we'll catch you soon. Take care, mate. Bye. Cheers.
Peace.